I'm Jeff Cook.
And I'm TJ Wilson.
And this is Around the Circle.
I'm walking slowly. I'm taking my time. All I could talking is starting to rhyme. I'm letting go of lonely, letting go of strife. I just can't get enough of this beautiful life.
The enneagram is a map of the human personality. It's a tool for navigating relationships. It creates language for what motivates us and helps us look at the way we look at everything else. Most importantly, the enneagram is a mirror because sometimes you need help seeing yourself. My name's Jeff Cook. I'm a philosopher in Greeley, Colorado, and with me is TJ Wilson, businessman, lover of theology, and enneagram ninja.
Hello.
My man.
Hey.
We have escaped. We have escaped the dark side.
We have?
It is time to focus on the light, my brother.
Oh, right, that. Sorry, I thought you were talking about something different, like the pandemic or...
You know what? Somehow that has kind of not been part of the news here recently. The only thing that is really dark in the news is inflation and nuclear war. I mean,
there's some other things too, but those are the big ones.
My privileged white perspective kicking in. But in terms of like personal focus, here as we have rounded the corner into step 5, we're looking at like, here is your best self. Let's talk about how you're awesome.
Great.
Who doesn't want to talk about that?
Right. Seriously. Fools. That's who.
It's time, fools. It's time to elevate. So we're going to name our high side.
Great.
The way that TJ and I are going to talk about this is you have arrows. You'll be familiar with stress and security in your center. When you're balanced, you can balance your stress number and your security number and pull the best attributes out of them so that you thrive as a human being.
Right. It's kind of the goal, right?
I think that's the goal.
High side thinking.
This podcast is going to be real simple then. We're just going to name what it looks like for your stress number and your security number to win. Like, what does it look like for those numbers to be like you at your best in those spaces?
Yeah, we talk, everyone talks a lot about the bad things that are available to you at those places, but like there's really good things too, and a big part of growth is learning how to grab onto the good things. Not necessarily like only ever intentionally getting the good things, but maybe you find yourself in stress and you realize it and you're like, what do I do here? You can look around you and grab some of the good things that are available to you at your stress number.
Your arrows are a total gift on that front.
Yeah.
Your wings are a gift as well. Your wings help you balance, but even more so, it seems, your arrows help you balance.
Yep. Agreed.
Before I knew the Enneagram, I was really attracted to 2 types of people as my heroes. Mm-hmm. And now that I know the Enneagram, I can type them and I can see it's all 4s and 7s.
Okay.
The 7s are almost entirely famous people who I was learning from, who are teachers, who are doing the sort of work I wanted to do, who are out there just thriving in spaces that I saw. Mm-hmm. And the 4s, who are my heroes, were my friends. And they were generally older, seasoned, and when I got a chance to talk to them, they really grounded me.
Sure.
And now looking, I can see just how much my attraction towards those folks really comes out of my desire to pull their character traits, their virtues, their way of being in the world into myself. These are the people I learn from. I'm really like, I'm super snotty on this front. Like, I just don't learn from other people very easily. But 7s and 4s really are people that when I see 7s on stage doing their thing, and when I get to converse with 4s, that's a place that I really find a lot of depth.
Yeah. Nice.
Do you find that with 3s and 6s?
I'm sure that I would if I really looked. If I just thinking about it off the top of my head, a lot of those types of people for me have been 5s and 9s. I'm sure if I actually sat down and looked and thought about it, and the people that I was really drawn to and admire, there would be something there along these lines.
We keep teasing this as a topic, but haven't hit it yet. That a lot of times our close relationships are on the arrows. We'll do this at some point, but this is a place that you are attracted to a person who is in your stress number.
Yeah.
Because you married a 6.
Yep. That's true.
There is something about connecting with someone in that space that's invigorating you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of our dynamic is that we have that line to share. And when I'm stressed out, she's actually there to say, "Hey, welcome, meet me here," and I can sort of like pull her into security a little bit easier. So
one of the things about relationships on the arrows, when you go to your stress number and suddenly there's a person who's been living there,
yeah,
in that number, and they're like, "Let me tell you how I do this, kid."
Yeah. Let me show you the ropes.
So helpful.
Yeah.
On the flip side, like for me, when I have relationships with people in my security space, they are almost inviting me into places that are secure. It's not necessarily my best self, but it is, a loosening, I don't know if that's how you experience 3 space, but breaking past your 9 hangups, perhaps, or obstacles at 9.
And helping me see a little clearer how to get the thing that I'm aiming for. So like 3 space is not a natural space for me, and much like when I moved to 6 and my wife is there to be like, "Hey, let me show you how to do this." When I go, I actually find great comfort from sharing some of the things that are happening with me with 3s to say, how do I navigate this? I don't know how to be aggressive or set goals or do the things that is how you live your life. Show me how to do this.
Well, maybe we should talk about that.
Okay.
That'd be a great topic today, I bet.
Let's hope.
Before we jump in, one last thing, and maybe someday we'll do this as a series, but there is something about naming your heroes, naming the people who are down the road, seasoned, more mature than you are, who live in your stress number, your security number, and your center. And simply observing how they function in the world, I think can be a great good for high side thinking.
Yeah, agreed.
You were talking about aiming. Targets are all over high side thinking.
Yeah.
And so you got to name what the high side of your stress, security, and center look like. And when you can name it, then you can aim at it. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily easy. It's real easy to fall into excess, to fall into your sin, to fall into your fixation and the rest. But if you're going to elevate it, it's going to take some precision, some foresight, this is who I want to be.
Yeah, because like low side thinking in all of these spaces, it's sort of natural and automatic in a lot of ways, and low to average, I should say, but actually working toward actually intentionally grabbing on to the high side stuff that's there. I mean, it takes work. You have to try. You have to do something. There's effort involved, just like all things having to do with human growth.
Growth is the word. Backside, a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about here with 5 and 6 and 7. This is what the rhythm really looks like when you're growing. For many of us, when we got into Enneagram, it's like, man, I'm going to show you your worst self. And you're like, holy cow, you're speaking my language. This is exactly where I struggle.
Right.
Now it's time. It's time to shore all that up, get some muscle on your bones, flourish as a human being, embrace maturity. That's what the art of living looks like, as opposed to most of the clowns walking out there that just are stumbling, bumbling, fumbling through life.
Because of their big shoes.
Sorry about that, clowns. That's their big shoes. All right, so I want to introduce something else today. I have in my hand one of the best things I've ever received. This is from Preston Mendors. I have been gifted a 10-sided die.
Oh, yeah.
Preston, who's a student of mine, made me an enneagram die.
Awesome.
Now it's got 9 numbers. It's got all the symbols for each of the numbers on this die, and one of this, it's a 10-sided die because apparently 9 was hard to come by or hard to print on. It was something I didn't ask because I was so grateful for the gift. The 10th just says around the circle.
Awesome. I love it.
So I'm going to roll the die, and this is just going to get us moving.
Perfect.
We're gonna let Preston select our number for today.
I love
and
it.
We're starting with the ones. That's just love from Preston towards me. I'm going to own that.
Good.
We're going to start with the ones. This will actually help because this is it's not fresh, but TJ and I haven't actually talked about this topic extensively yet in the way that we're going to. So however it comes out, that's how it's going to go.
Great. Let's do it.
Ones. Let's start with the high side of stress for ones. Ones are going to go into 4 space. What I really want to emphasize in going into stress is that you are going to engage your stance or the stance of your stress number. So I'm a 1. When I go to 4 space, I withdraw. Mm-hmm. That's how I am dealing with stress. I'm cutting off my intelligence center. I'm getting out of action. I'm moving into withdrawn space. And in 4 space, that withdrawn space, I need to elevate. And so what is it that 4s really at their high side focus on? And there's beauty and there's uniqueness there. I'm naturally struggling with resentment and hypersensitivity. The world isn't as it should be. But when I go to 4, especially at the high side, I can access an understanding of the beauty of the world and that everything fits and that everything is kaleidoscopically grand. And if I can engage that space, that can be very healthy for my heart. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that it's really easy to find themselves in this sort of like introspection downward spiral at 4. And one of the good things that happens when 4s go to stress and grab onto there's so much good to be held there. One of the things that you can grab onto is recognizing that 4s naturally see this, that things that are broken aren't necessarily not beautiful. There's this perspective that's available to ones when they are at 4, reaching for the healthier stuff that says it's okay for things to not be perfect. Things are the way that they are, and that's actually good.
Yep. Not natural at all for me.
Right.
I am putting on somebody else's glasses, and it is rescuing me from excess.
Right.
And it's the gift of your stress number.
Right. It doesn't need to be fixed in order to be beautiful or purposeful.
One of the other great goods at 4 that I receive is an introspective quality of reminding me who I am and what my unique calling and purpose is, what's mine to do in some sense. But there's a healthy identity perspective I get at 4, which isn't necessarily my primary focus.
Right. Identity and an ability to pay attention to your feelings instead of just reacting to them, to recognize that the some of the resentment and the things that you naturally feel in one space, these are tied to something else. These are tied to other things that are going on, and ones don't naturally pay as much attention to those things because they need to be fixed. They need to be conquered. They need to be adjusted so that they fit in their proper function. And 4 says, you know what? It's actually okay to be upset and to just be upset.
Yep.
And to figure out what that means and why you're upset and then to address it from there.
Solves a lot of the anger issues at one's self if you can go to 4, because if you are open to seeing your failures, the darker parts in your world, your life, as part of the thing that makes you a human, that makes you who you are, that actually can be incredibly valuable.
Right. And that thing that says that perfect is boring.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
man, perfect
right,
is so boring. It's so boring. Don't be perfect. Be you.
Love that. Yeah. The move back to center is important. And this is worth you listening to the podcast. This is something TJ and I have been just discussing in the last month or two. Moving back to center from your stress number means engaging your intelligence center. So for me, it means engaging my body. For 8s, 9s, and 1s, it's going to mean engaging your body. 2s, 3s, and 4s, it means engaging your heart. 5s, 6s, and 7s, it means getting engaged with your brain. For me, I can live in 4 space for a while, but there's a time where I need to stand up, get back on my feet, start moving again, and engage the world.
Yeah.
That In stress, I cut off my body, my intelligence center. That's one of the ways that I can solve my problems in my stress numbers, because I've cut off action and intuition. But getting back to center means I need to really re-engage those things. And when I do, that's how you get out of stress.
Yeah. The healthy move to 4 involves an intentional withdrawing. And you can stay there for a while, but you shouldn't stay there forever. And so, like, getting back to your center, with like to a healthier space of being in your primary, like who you are, that involves, like, there's work to be done now.
So for those of you who are therapists that listen to us, I can't overemphasize how powerful this can be for the folks that you're helping, is simply identifying their intelligence center and saying, how are you going to engage that again? Your mind, your body, or your heart. Super important, because that's the road to balance. The thing that ones want most is to feel whole, to feel good, to feel complete. Our virtue is serenity. So that sense of, I'm targeting goodness, I'm targeting wholeness, it needs to be infused with the virtue of my number. That's what the high side looks like. So unless the wholeness and goodness and completeness that I desire is also infused with a sense of serenity, a sense of, I find myself in the world is as it should be. For those of us who believe in God, that God has made the world this way, is in total control, and I can actually dwell in that space. That's what the high side of my center seems to look like.
Well, I think they're like, we're not abandoning some of the things that are part and parcel of our primary type. So there is still, like, there's work to be done. There's things to be made better. There's people to help and light bulbs to change and all of the things that goes along with being a 1. But it also is now filled with this thing that you got at 4 of recognizing that actually, like, you're okay and brokenness isn't terrible. And, like, we continually come back to this, what is mine to do? Like, one of the things you get at 4 in a healthy way that makes you a better 1 is that now you are more in touch with the things that are exclusively yours.
Yeah. 1s, 2s, and 6s all need that question, what is mine to do?
Right.
Because it produces priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And it also frees you from everything else.
Right. You don't have to fix everything in the world now, and you know your place in the world because you spent some time at 4.
Best possible thing for 1s to write down is not everything is yours to fix.
Yep.
You need to prioritize. And what that produces is that sense of serenity, especially if you believe in the divine. The divine can take care of the world on God's own. Here is your task for today. And then you call it good.
Right.
Ridiculously difficult, but that's where serenity lies. And
Right.
That's the high side of your motive. Moving to security comes out of that place, because once you have done the thing that is yours to do, you're done. And you need to open up your hands, and you need to embrace some joy. You need to embrace some time where the adventure begins to happen, because it's not all work.
Right.
In fact, there is an aggressive posture that comes over 1s when they enter places of security, and they enter 7 space, which is an assertive aggressive type.
Right.
1s in security are going to take hold of the adventure. And on the high side, that means really naming, targeting, and knowing what it means for you to be filled with joy. And that's your place in security. Oftentimes, that's a gift of grace. When you know this is the time to rest and be and dwell, you can target joy. What is it really? Now that I have fulfilled my motive, the aim now is to simply dwell in this space of joy that we see in the healthiest 7s.
Right. And to, like, coming up against that idea of the, like, aggressiveness of 7 and seeking out joy. Like, You have to be intentional about this. It is so easy for so many people to continually find more work to do because there's always something to do. But if you are healthy at your primary space of oneness and recognizing there's work for me to do and there's work that is not mine to do, and I am okay with letting the work that is not mine to do not get done, part of your moving into security is actually an intentional stepping away. You're not going to take a vacation unless you actually take a vacation. You're not going to find those places of letting go of your work unless you actually actively let go of your work. Because there's always something to fix, there's always something to improve, there's always more work to do. So moving into that aggressive space is about pushing, about forcing yourself, about intentionally taking the time to find those spaces of joy.
One of the things that's really worth noting is how much the head colors what TJ's answer was there in that 7 space.
Yeah.
Ones who are naturally thinking repressed are going to come into 7 space, and their minds will actually naturally become activated, especially if they're shoring up their repressed center, and that's leading to security. Focus, push into that mental space, and how do you experience, the goodness and glory and wonders and pleasures of the life in front of you. That is security, and that ends up being, if you hit the high side of security, that's what it looks like.
Right. Yeah, it pushes against your thinking repression. It even draws you back into a healthier one space, which is just like adding more to your ability to accept the world as it is.
Where we talk about the doom loop, where our sin and fixation just starts spinning.
Yep.
Opposite here.
Yep.
Once you get a taste of true joy and security for ones, it's going to awaken something inside you to what the high side of your motive looks like.
Right.
One of the worst things that ones often do is when they hit security, they feel guilty.
Yeah, because obviously I shouldn't enjoy myself because there's things that need to be fixed.
This is a lie and it's trash.
Yep.
You have not got your head around the fact that you did the thing that's yours to do, and now it's time to loosen up.
Yep.
Until it's time to find the thing that's yours to do again.
And if you truly believe that there already is an order to the universe, then you should probably spend some energy thinking about how part of the order to the universe is that we're supposed to enjoy it.
Exactly right. Some of the most miserable moments in my life are just colored with to-do lists and a feeling that I'm not keeping up. And that if I was actually a good person, these things would. If I was a good parent, good teacher, good pastor, good podcaster, etc., all these check marks would have gotten hit a while ago.
Well, that's just nonsense.
And it's nonsense. But ones need to push into that place where they understand that.
Yep.
It's the key to thriving and to be balanced.
Yep.
And that's the goal.
Yep.
Twos are going to move into stress at 8. This is an active space for twos. You're going to take on some aggressive energy at 8. The need to get flattery from others is a fixation that twos will struggle with. At 8 space, there is going to be an aggressive move to agency, to self-understanding, to pushing into the world in a, what would you call this?
There's a directness that twos don't naturally have that is available to them at 8 that says, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. This is like making the plan for the sake of everyone else. Like twos spend so much of their time and energy trying to serve other people's needs. And when they go to 8 in healthy ways, the things that they can get there are the ability to take charge without manipulating, to be direct, to be forward, to say what they want, and to get the things done without intentionally being the second.
Yeah, there it is. There is a awareness of your vulnerability. There's also a cutting off of your center, which is your heart.
Right.
Getting into 8 space is going to actually allow you to not care about others for a minute
Right.
and to push a little bit.
Or I would say even to be able to tap into the ability to care more about what needs to be done than about what other people think about you.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
We're going to do this in spite of your desires right now.
Mm-hmm. Because this is the right thing to do.
Not necessarily looking for your affirmation. This is how things are going to go.
Right. And I think that that also is in service to the 2's self. That is a big part of what 2's get at 8. They get this either way, but especially when they're healthy, this is the place where they can appropriately set boundaries and take care of themselves in much more direct ways than they are used to doing in their center.
One of the things about 2s, both at 8 and at 4, is they can get in touch with their own emotions and their own needs and their own vulnerabilities.
Yep.
Very difficult when they're centered because
Yep.
it's so much earning the love and affection and attention of others.
Right.
Moving back to center, however, once you get controlled, grounded, understand who you are, move into your heart. That actually is the move back to center, is really actually caring about the needs of others and feeling that, reading their emotions, hearing from them that they're glad you're in their life. That's not necessarily a bad thing for 2s, yeah?
Right. There's like 8s are so good at sort of not caring what other people think about them, and when 2s pick that up and move back to their center, they actually gain. It's almost like leveling up their ability to serve, because now their outward focus can be done in a way that's not self-serving, that they don't naturally have. They sort of pick up that skill of like, I'm gonna take care of you, and I don't really care what you think about me. That's something that they get from 8 in healthy ways.
Incredibly helpful, because the love that 2s desire needs to be infused with humility.
Right.
And that's the virtue at 2.
Right.
And so if you have lived in 8 space, you're going to have some of that going on. That sense of, as you were saying, of directness, of not caring what other people think. That actually, it may feel strange, that does have the ring of humility. You understand who you are.
Right.
And so you have permission to love in authentic ways and not have to push for other people to tell you how amazing you are, how helpful you've been.
Right.
What a wonder it is that you're in their life.
Right.
To build on this, what does humble love look like? Because that's kind of the nub.
I mean, I think it looks a lot like what we're talking about. Like there's the ability to take care of the object of your love without needing them to love you. It means that you can also set boundaries. It means that you can recognize more clearly when you're overstepping. It means that your ability to serve and care for other people is not dependent on them reciprocating in any way. Like there's a self-sacrificialness that comes out of this space that it's really hard for 2s to be self-sacrificial in ways that are not damaging when they're unhealthy, when they're average to unhealthy, and when they come out of when they grab on to the healthy things that are available around them and really start infusing their service with humility. It's okay to give and to also know where the lines are.
Exactly right. I think all the types need to find something where they recognize that they have unsurpassable worth.
Right.
Everyone has unsurpassable worth. That's part of the stuff we did in the last podcast in terms of working through spiritual disciplines, is you need to awaken yourself to your unsurpassable worth, and that you are being poured into by God, by the world around you, etc. Finding the well, finding the source of your identity in those spaces, ridiculously important in my mind, humility comes for twos when they understand their unsurpassable worth, that their bank account is entirely full. You can't add one more dollar.
Right.
Sucker is filled up. You've seen the Ebenezer Scrooge swimming in gold coins intro to DuckTales. Of course you have. That's
Scrooge McDuck. That's not Ebenezer Scrooge.
Gosh, I got that wrong. You're right. Living out of that is essential for all of us, but especially for twos. If you can give out of a sense that your bank account's already full, that's a place of huge health.
Yep.
The move then to the high side of security for twos means you're moving into 4 space, and you're actually, again, going to become much more withdrawn and aware of your heart. You're going to become much more aware of how beautiful you are, how amazing you are, how unique you are in this kaleidoscopic world.
Right. And I also think there's an ability available to observe the beauty and uniqueness without needing to insert yourself into it. Yeah, there's pride involved with twos, and we've talked about this a lot before, but like the idea of wanting to be part of the things.
Yes.
Especially in unhealth and like a lot of our two villains is like they're raising themselves up so that they can be taken care of. And when you withdraw in really healthy ways into this 4 space, like you get the ability to just watch the beauty happen around you without you contributing to it. And
you can name that as good.
Yep.
Just like ones need to have permission, twos need to have permission.
Yeah. What is yours to do? And one of the things you get at 4 is it's okay to just watch sometimes.
And to really do business with your own heart because you're valuable.
Yep.
At 2, you need to see your value, elevate your value.
Yep.
Be astonished even at discovering your value. The thing with twos is that they're in their center, they're a heart type. In their security number, they're a heart type. But what's actually happening is they overemphasize the hearts of others at their center. Mm-hmm. But in 4 space, it's time to turn your eyes inward and really get a sense of who you are.
Right.
And see your own heart and your own feelings and your own needs. These are incredibly valuable in security.
Right. And it gives you tools to help push against the natural self-avoidance that's at normal 2 space.
Yeah, that's a good word. Moving to 3s. 3s in stress are going to withdraw for peace at 9. The fixation that 3s can have is that of vanity, of always needing to be on stage.
Right.
Of always needing somebody to see how amazing you are and tell you about it. In 9 space, you're saved from that. Get off the stage.
Right.
Enter a different location where you can actually heal up, get sound, remind yourself of your feelings in that space, and enjoy the peace and calm that is there in a withdrawn space that's not so active.
Right. And so our good friend Sean Palmer, I'm calling you out right now, Sean. He tweeted something today about if you want to have more freedom. I'm butchering this. I'm definitely not reading it. I'm just remembering the sentiment of it. If you want to have more freedom, then do what my family does and plan out your whole week on Sunday. And like, if you make all of the decisions that you need to make for your schedule on Sunday, then you don't have to worry about making those decisions on the day. And I get the logic, and I'm sure that there's a lot of value to be had for like doing a better job of planning and stuff. But my initial reaction to this was just like, man, or you could just relax a little bit. Good night. Love you, Sean. And that's I think what is part of what is available at the healthy side of your stress type. Is it like when things break, this is a moment where you can actually recognize that it's okay to relax for a minute. That you get the opportunity to just kind of hang out, to just enjoy your life, to not have to be constantly working toward the next thing. You don't have to make a to-do list for your vacation. When you do withdraw into this 9 space, if you do it in a healthy way, you don't have to focus on what other people are thinking about you, which means that you don't have to constantly be achieving something.
Yep. Got to experience this all day today. Grades were due. Both my wife and I work at the same school. Her stuff was in. She was in bed all day long, just loving life.
That's awesome.
With a Kindle.
Good for her. Love it.
Reading books. Actually, for about 3 hours, she cleaned out the entire closet and asked me to tell her how great
no
she was.
possibility she stayed in bed all day. She was already writing lesson plans for next fall on like 4 days ago.
It was actually the case. The closet got cleaned out. I told her that she was amazing. She did work out early this morning. But there was a lot of, I'm catching her again hanging out with the Kindle.
Yeah, which is great.
That is a space. We've talked about aggressive types and spaces, but that's a space for her. Just being in bed, there's a beautiful view from our bedroom, and she just dwells in that place of calm, refreshment. Nobody can see me here.
Yep.
In fact, there was a person last night we went out and walked through our neighborhood. There was a woman that we ran into who needed help, and Kelly spent like an hour and a half with her. It would have been really uncomfortable given where she was at for me to step in. Kelly totally stepped in. I went and did other things, primed the pump for everything else that she might need, but spent a lot of herself giving this woman attention. Today was the day where she needed to say, I need to get off stage. I need to refresh.
Yeah.
It's a great good for threes in that 9 space.
Yep. Absolutely.
The movement then back to center, however, you've cut off your need for attention, threes, when you go to stress. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what it looks like for you to find replenishment, refreshment in your stress number.
Yep.
Can't live there. That would be bad news.
Obviously.
There's a famous author who's a 3 who lived for his college years in 9 space, just talks about smoking weed for 3 years straight. You know, It's like eventually you need to re-engage.
Right.
Re-engagement for 3s looks like reminding yourself of how much you care for the people in front of you and long to shine, long to see them elevated and moving into that place.
Yeah.
It can't just be about you being excellent, though. High side 3 thinking is infused with authenticity.
Right.
And the honest side of 3ness of you're not putting up the mask in order to elevate people. You're bringing your authentic self, and that elevates people much more than the mask.
Right.
It's like, come with me. This is the great thing we're doing together. This is who we are as a people, and shining that way that's the high side.
Right. Yeah. There's a really big difference between excellence for appearance sake and excellence for excellence sake. This is one of the places where 1 and 3 meet. Is it like when 3s are actually really healthy and doing the work that they need to be doing, they're focusing on the things that they are actually intuitively, naturally good at. And they're not worried about what other people think about them. And they can bring a more... Like there's a performative nature to 3s interacting with the world, and when 3s are healthier, when they're focusing on authenticity, they can actually be more clear and honest about the things that they struggle with, which also helps them connect to other people better.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We mentioned it recently, but one of the videos that went viral that just broke my heart in a good way was Schwarzenegger talking about Ukraine. And the way that he came to the topic was to talk about how his father was a Nazi, and his Nazi father was a broken man after that war.
Yeah.
That is authenticity. Yep. And it's done like exposing his authentic self. That is easily mocked, ridiculed. You are putting yourself out there to be, demeaned for your family's heritage by doing that. And he's holding out his family's Nazi heritage in order to say to the people of Ukraine, but he was actually addressing it to the soldiers of Russia, saying, "Don't be like my dad. Don't shatter your life."
Right.
And the threeness there of he's on stage, he's elevating others, and he's doing it from a place of deep authenticity. Woo! Just found it so powerful.
Right.
The move then to security for threes is there is an earning that takes place. It's not the demanding attention. Security for threes looks much more like even getting further into the hearts of the people who are part of your crew, part of your audience, part of your family, and really engaging them from that authentic position where you earn their trust, their genuine care, and that's a place of the fidelity that you find at 6. I suppose that's how I would phrase that.
Yeah, the story about Schwarzenegger is actually a really good example of this. It's like from his 3 space, he is using his position that he has worked very hard to get to of influence and notoriety, and he's able to use that authenticity to tell a story about himself, to say, this isn't about me. This isn't about how great I am. This is about the us. This is about you even.
Yeah.
And
common good.
We need to do this for the common good.
Yep.
And like the earning takes place in the sacrifice of my own image and the de-elevation of my image. And like it works really well in this story about Schwarzenegger, but it is also like threes are so good at elevating themselves. And when they enter into that 6 space, they're actually willing to sacrifice themselves and their own image for what's good for the group.
Notice how the 3 centers work here then. The 3 goes into their body in 9 space. Really rest up, get your physicality out of the spotlight. Mm-hmm. You're normally living in your center through your heart. But when you decide, not just in authenticity, but for the collective good, the thing that really shines in that Schwarzenegger video is how thoughtful he's been about making this play. Yeah. It's not just sacrificing yourself or like just, scratching your reputation.
Right.
He is very intentional and has thought through, this is the move. This is the right move at this time to elevate everyone else. And right. It's a very heady move.
Right.
And that's engaging at 6, that center.
Yeah. Thinking about the difference between aggressiveness and like earning or dependent, he's not commanding. He's not asserting himself into this space in this way. What he's doing is offering something that other people have to respond to. And like that is also a big part of 3 in security in really healthy ways, is that I am not going to take control of this situation. I'm not going to drive the bus. I'm going to present something that you have to meet me at.
Yep. It's a great way to phrase that. So that brings us to the 4s. 4s are going to earn love at 2. They can fixate on their sadness, on their melancholy. They can become overwhelmed in that space. But there is an active energy at 2 that is an earning action. It's going to pull you out of the melancholy, and there's going to be a movement toward other people. So we've talked about that in the past, that 1s, 2s, and 6s move toward other people. That's a fantastic way to get out of melancholy.
Right.
It's time to engage some relationships, and you gain that at 2.
Yep. And it's at its simplest form, you're going to stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on other people.
Yep.
And the depth and the richness and the like learning the truth that one of the best and easiest ways to stop being sad is to start serving someone else. Like that comes out of the healthy move to 2.
Exactly right. It's a real interesting fact about 2s and 4s that 2s have a hard time understanding their feelings. 4s really focus on their own feelings. 2s often focus on others, and 4s need that posture.
Right.
To get some grounding, get some perspective, solve some of the problems they can't in their center, And then once they've gained that, then they can move back to being centered in the thing that's most important to their identity. Yeah.
Right. One of the things that happens when you serve other people is that you start to see them a little more clearly. You start to see them, like you start to see the world around you a little bit more beautifully. Like there's so much richness and goodness that this is the same thing as like gratitude thinking. Like when you practice gratitude, you start to become a more grateful person. When you practice taking care of others, when you push outside of yourself into what other people need and want, and you actually gain a clearer perspective on the goodness that's out there.
Yep. Fantastic move against envy there as well. Yep. When you posture yourself as somebody who is serving, that moves against your envy.
Right.
And in fact, moving back to center for fours is also a move against envy, because if you stop in stress, the low side of stress, fours can get really fixated on the goodness that's been poured into the laps of other people.
Right.
And other people's journeys, their successes, where they are getting attention that the four may not be getting. Moving to center means stopping focusing on others. Start focusing on yourself. Who are you? What's the unique contribution you have to give to the world? That's
right.
actually you in your center, is
right.
actually coming back to an understanding of who you are.
Right. And that you have something to offer.
There it is.
Yeah.
That moves you out of envy.
Right.
Why would you focus on what somebody else is getting paid accomplishing the awards they get? You have something amazing to offer.
Right.
Get into it.
Right.
That place of understanding your own significance needs to get infused with an understanding that everything has its place, that everything has a beautiful element to it that creates the wonders that we see all around us. You have your own special spot in that, but having a grander picture of it all, that's the equanimity that fours need.
Right. You have significance, and you are part of the thing that you see around you. And part of the way that you get this is by inserting yourself into the life of the people around you. It's coming out from the natural focus on yourself and seeing yourself within the bigger story, within the bigger picture, within the group, and what parts, like what do you have to offer that makes this group what it is, and you are part of that group.
From that platform, if you engage your body, it's on, because you're going to take hold of the thing that you're made for in that one space. And one space is going to be a space where your body gets involved. You're moving out of withdrawnness. You're moving into that space that's kind of an earning space. And it's a pushing towards embodying your role in the world. You see anything else there at one?
I think also like the high side of order, and particularly wholeness. Like this is the thing that ones are looking for, is wholeness, completeness. And like when you can move into security, wholeness is sort of the answer to envy. It's not only are you unique and have something specific to contribute, and like all of the things that we've already talked about, but also the person that you are is complete.
Yeah.
Like it's not only that you have stuff to contribute, but also that you are good, and you are valuable, and your whole person is part of who you are, and you are part of the order of the universe.
One of the healthiest fours I know is former military. He was a Marine. Came back stateside, got real involved in more of a social justice kind of way of being in the world. Consistently, he works for a college and he advocates for marginalized communities. And it's as though he has found his spot.
Yeah.
He both serves the military community on campus and serves the LGBTQ community, does an excellent job ordering their experience of collegiate life.
Right.
Here's the place for you. He can see their uniqueness, and then he finds them a place.
Right.
And that ordering posture is his sweet spot.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like, he is thriving in that. That comes out of his foreignness, but when he really elevates into security, it's just natural in that creating systems, ordering way of being that he can pick up at one.
Yeah, putting things in their proper place.
Yep.
And the skills gained from the practice and the natural ability to see the inherent value of each individual person, and then turning that and saying, okay, where do you properly fit?
Yep.
Yeah.
Notice how, again, that's getting out of self-focus and into his body and creating things out there.
Yep.
Really important there.
Yep.
My man, that's a good place to end. Before you take off, I realize everybody turns the thing off right now. Just know, before you turn things off, we are having an online event in June. There's a link in the show notes to our Patreon page that just has information about what we're going to do. We have about 40 people who have signed up already. It's going to be special. Jump in from the beginning. I imagine that all the things that we're going to be doing in terms of us personally interacting with folks who show up is really going to be something I haven't experienced before, but our vision for our online cohort and gatherings is going to be really cool. So take a look at what we got. Real easy to find us. Go to aroundthecircle.org if you don't want to check the show notes, and just hit events or Patreon. Both of them will take you to the work that we're doing. That's really what I'm excited about in the summertime, except slightly ahead of the fun that we're going to have together online is stars. Who doesn't like stars?
Right. Yeah. Seriously.
I've been pitching this the last 5 weeks. We've gotten like 2 stars in the last 5 weeks. It's like, people turn off. If you love us and care about the success of our shows and the health of our hearts and our egos not being bruised for the next week, 5 weeks, because nobody gives us stars, go give us some stars. Next, we're going to release the second half on Monday. And that's what I got. You got anything else, DJ?
I got nothing, man.
He's DJ Wilson. He's officially awesome. And I am Jeff Cook. And who you aren't isn't interesting.